Zach, good day. How are things?
I'm testing out my Miss America pageant wave. I always wonder why they do it like that. I don't know. Things are good. Things are great. Things are Granby.
Good.
You?
Life is good. Always something going on.
Ooh,
Never a dull moment, but yeah, life is
ooh.
good. Beats the
What's
alternative.
fresh on the mind right now?
Fresh off of the Advanced Aircraft Summit that was taking place last night in Richmond. I had no idea that.
Is it called
What was it?
AAS? It's got to be an
Yeah,
acronym.
yeah.
I knew
It's
it.
it's for those that aren't aware. I mean, there is a lot. That is a big space. That is. I knew that it was big, and I knew that we had a lot of that down in this area. But when you had something at the state level that brought in, I mean, gosh, at the event last night, they're expecting like 600-700 people. The governor spoke for a few minutes talking about it, but yeah, interesting stuff. A lot of changes on the horizon with new technologies, with the electrification and short takeoff and landing, and a lot of interesting things.
So for us idiots out there that don't know that, are we just talking about drones? Is that really what it is?
No,
Or is it
well, so
more
we're
than that?
talking. Yeah, it's more than that. I mean, so moving like a 9-passenger, smaller type of aircraft that can take off and land like on the size of a soccer field. So, or they could transition the top deck of a parking garage into a landing area for these essentially vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. So you could go like McLean to DC or McLean to New York City, and it would really solve a lot of traffic challenges. Interesting stuff.
Was anyone there with like something like a skateboard that like a one person could like fly on about 3 to 5 feet in the air, something like that? Because I
Right.
don't know. I think that's what we talk about these new Apple glasses, and I
Right.
don't know what the adoption is on those things, but I would think that the skateboard hovercraft thing would get a little bit more
Yeah.
adoption rate than those things, and I think people would pay $3,500 for one of those things. I think I would. That would be pretty
Yeah.
rad.
Good stuff.
You know what I'm talking about, Georgie. You want one of those too.
I don't know. I want all that traffic above my head, and people are crazy on the road.
Yeah, right. I mean, the good thing is, at least with that, I mean, like they have like eight propellers or rotors, so there's a little bit of redundancy that's there, which is a good thing. But I'm with you, Georgie. I like when you start trying to defy laws of physics, that's when there's a little bit of concern, and you don't necessarily want parts falling off of aircraft, and that could be not so good.
I
See,
feel
I
old
don't
even
worry
saying
about
this.
parts. Wait. I don't worry about parts or things coming down. I worry about pilots up there, crazy people who all of a sudden
Right.
feel like they're flying.
Yeah.
They're like, this is my right of way, and I'm going to like go this way because that's the way I want to go.
Yeah,
Well,
but it's already
yeah.
that already happens.
There
I know,
is
down here.
The bird scooters and the Lime stuff in Norfolk. Like, I feel like
Right.
an old man just talking about this, but I'm like,
Right.
how
Not
are there
in my
not been more accidents?
backyard.
That's going to be like above your head.
Right.
No.
Make them fly at 100 feet, and if they drop, they drop.
Yeah, I don't know what the altitude is much lower than
It's lower.
I don't know.
Stuff.
It is very interesting, and it's a big business.
So this is the first time you guys have officially met. This is exciting times.
I always enjoy shows that with new people. I love learning new things about and just sounds like it seems like you have a lot going on, and you're really involved in the community. So I'm looking to learn a thing or two, Georgie.
Oh, we're all going to learn. We're learning from each other. We're learning from
There
Zach.
you
Yeah,
Zach's the
and I
one
think
who's written the book.
this is
So-
the first time we've had an architect on the show too, I believe.
Oh, no, that is special. Architecture.
Took 196 episodes for this to happen.
Yeah, architecture is really special.
It is a lot more involved than I ever imagined. Like Zach, have you ever seen like a true an architectural package that has to be submitted for like a new building to be. Yeah, I mean, it is.
All of
Wow.
the blueprint stuff and all that craziness.
Yeah, it is really, really talk about attention to detail and in depth to levels that I had no idea.
Every
And that's the result of like a very big process that you don't really see.
Like I couldn't imagine like what how big something would be from like a New York City skyscraper type of standpoint. Oh my goodness, that would be what a project that would be.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
what's your sweet spot for projects that you work on?
Um, we're a small firm, so of course we don't do skyscrapers. And honestly, I don't know that I would like to do a skyscraper.
Mm.
Yeah, unless I was like a Zaha Hadid, with like I could get really creative and stuff. Um, but we do restaurants in the area. We've done several restaurants in the area, and then those are fun. Um, we've done a lot of industrial, and honestly, because you're in this area, we do a lot of Department of Defense.
Mm.
And I'm doing some consulting work on the airport, talking about airports and airplanes. Did you know that for the longest time there was a lot of talk about this airport could not expand because there was no space for a runway? But as you said, planes now don't need the longer runways to land. So now actually our airport doesn't need a longer runway.
I think that in today's headlines was Norfolk Airport what $700 million
I saw that.
expansions.
Yep,
Is it that busy?
it's yeah, it's getting very busy. Yeah.
I heard that like the Vegas airport this week, there is no capacity for any more planes. Like not a
Really?
private jet, everything is sold out. Like the airspace is completely sold out. Apparently,
Is
it
that
is
wow?
a zoo there. Everything is like the normal
Hmm.
menu prices. They've taken those prices off and like put tape over them, and they have new prices. Stuff is like $8, $9, $1,600 a night.
I wonder how much
Going
a hamburger
absolutely
costs.
bonkers.
That's
Yeah,
Much
a
of what?
crazy airport there.
hamburger.
It's a crazy airport. Yeah, Hamburg.
That is a wild airport. It's cool, but it's crazy to just knowing that airspace like that, the Super Bowl,
Wow.
whatever. But so Norfolk, I always like Norfolk's airport because it's easy to get in and out of, and you can, if you got a 6 a.m. flight, you can get there at 5:29, get through
Yeah.
the checkpoint. I mean, it's great.
It's probably going to change though as it's growing, but
Ugh,
I know it's very
Boy.
sad, but it will never be LaGuardia, okay?
I don't think I've ever flown through there just because of the
Really?
nightmares that I've heard.
Yeah. Actually, they just renovated. Apparently, somebody said that it's actually quite nice now.
Yeah, they've invested a few $1 billion into that. Huge construction stuff going on there.
So is this your first airport?
Yeah, but well, we've done work for in airports as far as hangars and things like that. But we're not doing any of the design. We're just doing like consulting and some QA, QC type stuff. So yeah, getting
You'll
my
have
it's very involved. It's like, gosh, all of the different things that you have to keep in mind. Delivery of luggage, luggage conveyor belts, all those things
Yeah.
have to be discussed and worked at, and how people get in and out. And
I love watching like when I don't really like it when you have to wait to taxi into your gate, but
Mhm.
I do like to watch all the moving parts and pieces that take place on an airport. I mean, from like restocking the food to refueling the plane and all the luggage and passengers. It is really quite a
amazing.
busy operation.
Yep, 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 yeah. No, but so anyway, we've done several restaurants that you guys probably know actually. Well, we did sushi in town center, which has been around for a while, but we've done in Suffolk, quite a few in Suffolk. More towards your end of the world, Zach, no longer living in Norfolk. Um, but we've done Cork and Bull in at Summit Point. That's
in the Dollar Tree downtown thing,
Yeah.
Tim. I
Yeah.
don't know if
okay.
you've actually ever been over there. I mean,
No.
the food on that block, people think I'm crazy when I say this. The food on that block might be the best food in a block in the region
Wow.
per one block.
Yep.
Like, it's really good. They
Wow.
got Luce Segundo, which is unreal food.
Mm-hmm.
And then that other place, what's it called? Cork and Bull.
Yep.
It's a steakhouse, and they got they got some wild food there. It's really actually pretty cool because it is kind of a live work play thing where it's like the people can work from a dollar perspective, which is a great homegrown story. Then there's like this the retail portion of it. They got a nice little coffee shop, which is always packed. The Pale Horse thing, it's crazy. And then some good restaurants. And then I think they're trying to build out some more stuff in there as well. So got a whole expansion in there. A lot of people live in there.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting
Where
stuff.
do all these people come from? That's what I want to know. Like, there's all of these residential developments happening, like in Suffolk and in Chesapeake. And where do they come from? Like, really, do we have that many people that want to?
When I moved here, we were market 43 of the entire country. That's like the size of the MSA. Now we're 37.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so,
I just had a meeting with someone from that just relocated here from Springfield, Missouri yesterday.
home of the Simpsons.
Yeah, and he's now working for Vims with William and Mary. So there's a lot of people moving to this area for sure.
Well, a lot of people move here from New York because of
taxes are
slower. Oh, taxes, okay.
Snow,
like
snow.
Less snow, right? I mean, look, it's already summer basically. Summer is basically here.
I know.
I tell you, speaking of like architecture, I don't know if either of you have seen the new. So if you're on 64 driving from Williamsburg or Richmond south towards the new Newport News train station that's being put in.
I haven't seen that.
It's a really nice piece of architecture. Whoever designed that did a really nice. It's very modern looking, and Amtrak is doing a lot more business as well. And, everyone that I have ever talked to just talk about what a pleasant experience it is to take the train from our area to Northern Virginia.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was in Spain, I traveled by train everywhere. It's so convenient. It's so nice, and you just. You're not sitting there trying to drive, and then you can multitask, Zach.
Yes, you probably can at that point.
Like,
so what got you into this world? Were you just a kid and you were like, oh, I love buildings? Or did you like Legos or like Lincoln Logs? Like, what got you into like the whole thing of this? Because, as kids, I think we grow up with those things and we look at some of those stuff. We draw things, we draw houses and stuff like that. And then maybe for whatever reason that gets put on the back burner and we never think about it again. But with you, you've made a career out of it. What got you into it?
Yeah, and it was that. I was the house that I grew up in, my grandfather was actually one of the engineers at the Panama Canal, which probably the only Puerto Rican engineer at the Panama Canal. Like, really? Who else? How did you do that? But so when they built our house, my dad and his brother and my grandfather, they drew all these floor plans and everything. And I remember as a little girl just going through the floor plans and just being fascinated by it. And then in high school, I would just draw. I would get, paper that had the squares, and I would just draw floor plans. And then, and the thing with architecture is that one of the things that a lot of people don't know about me, I used to be a dancer also. And so as a dancer, the way you move through space and the way you feel and you have the sensation of space, that's basically what architecture is about. People think architecture is not just the enclosure of the building, it's the space you create and how do you feel when you go inside these different spaces. So, which by the way is called propriocentric. It's another sense in addition to the five senses, and it's the ability to sense the space around you. So that sometimes you go into a space and you feel like you're being crushed by the space. And then you go into other spaces and you're like, whoa, this is like, it makes you look up, like old cathedrals in Europe. You go in and automatically you look up, you feel like the dimensionality of the space and your relationship to that space. So I just fell in love with that whole concept of space. And that's what architecture is. So then, I got into it. I went to New York. I went to school in New York. I lived in Brooklyn for many years. Talking about snow, as a little Puerto Rican girl, I landed in Brooklyn and had my first snowfall. But
the architecture of Puerto Rico is beautiful.
Yeah, they are, it's very nice.
Like
Mm,
old San Juan,
Very
like
different. Oh, yeah.
it's incredible.
I
Like,
grew
wow.
up around there. That's around where I grew up in Old San
okay,
Juan. So I would
there,
spend
like
weeks
the
there.
churches there,
Hmm.
like my wife and I went there last year, and we
Yeah.
just walked around like an entire day. It's unbelievable,
And they've
and
maintained it
it's
really
very
well.
tight
They've
too.
really kept it. Yeah. Well, because it's very medieval, you know. Yeah.
Mm,
It's old Spanish colonial architecture. Yeah. And
it's
so,
very beautiful.
no, it's, yeah.
I would imagine from an architectural standpoint, as a firm, once you find your niche, that you stay within that. I would suspect that it would be really, really hard to change verticals doing different types of buildings, or am I totally off?
No, I'll tell you honestly, we do pretty much everything except residential. We don't do private residential and we don't do multifamily residential. Those are just two niches. Private residential, people go crazy when they're designing their own house. It's like,
Yeah, I hear that's just a terrible experience.
oh my gosh, yeah, no, it's not good, not good. Unless you have like the right
It's like
personality.
Bridezilla's for the home.
Yes, yes, except that you have two. And then it
Uh,
becomes like a whole power play. Like, no, I want the closet to be 3 feet longer than, whatever.
ooh,
And yeah, no, it becomes a whole power play for many people. I mean, shouldn't generalize, but overall, that has been our experience. And then multifamily, there's a lot of some very good architecture firms in this area that's what they do. And it was sometimes you just have to decide what are the battles that I want to fight, and that was not one that I was interested in. That was just not a
Mm.
market I wanted to get into,
I
so
just
I just chose not to. Yeah.
I find the whole process improvement from architecture just a fascinating thing. Just like in terms of like how you construct different buildings to be earthquake proof, but to fire suppression. To I mean, there's just that constant, continuous improvement. But yet, it takes a long time to see change throughout
mm.
the evolution of buildings or spaces that you design. It's just a fascinating thing for me that the
Yeah, and you
engineering
know, it's
behind it.
interesting. You were saying about I need to go out to Newport News and take a look at the railroad station because honestly, for the longest time, this area was like bad colonial architecture done. It,
Oh yeah.
yeah, like
Oh
let's all look like Williamsburg, but let's not get the scale right.
yeah. The Stryker Center, boy, that got a lot of headlines for that design for a while, and it turned out okay.
Yeah.
So like when you see cities, so I don't think I lived here when this happened, but like I guess downtown Norfolk tore down a lot of older buildings to
Yeah,
put in some
that
new
was very
buildings.
sad. That was very sad. I remember one in particular that was just a really nice building where the main is now. And
Oh
that
Oh
was
yeah,
really?
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And
I either lived, I either yeah, I remember hearing people talk about that aspect
I
mhm.
of it.
guess.
But like, so is there a reason why that happens? Is it just about money? Like, because some cities have kept and restored some of their older buildings and stuff like that. Like, just generally, why do buildings come down when?
I think it really is a lot of it is about money. There's ways you can save. And actually, talking about the main, they actually saved that building that's on Granby. That side, they have the restaurant. Which
The
one is
Selden
that?
Market.
No, no, no.
Near
In
Hell's
the
Kitchen.
main, in the main,
Yeah.
yeah, across the street from Hell, yeah, next door to Hell's Kitchen, around there, where
The
there's that
Royster
used to be
building
an
now.
old, yeah, is it? Yeah, and they kept it and they made it part of the main.
Okay.
So one of the restaurants has maintained it, and it's a beautiful feature. So here you have the contrast of the very modern front facade of the main, and then around the corner they maintained this old facade and used it and left some of the interior spaces kind of like how it was originally. So there's ways of doing it. One interesting thing that's happening now is that with the whole sustainability and green building and all of that, there's the realization that it's a lot better for the environment to just reuse old buildings and
Hmm.
upgrade them. And now the thing is, which old buildings are worth keeping and reusing, and which old buildings are like, oh, please just tear it down. and so that becomes an aesthetics and a marketing and really honestly like a developer money decision. But
Do
some make a
cities
lot of
have to
Yeah.
sense.
approve the look of a building to some extent? Or can someone come in and
Depends.
be like, I own this land, do whatever I want?
It depends. Sometimes you have to go before the architectural review board, depending on the neighborhood, depending, again, we're talking so many different cities and so many different types of projects. But there is such a thing as the architectural review board that you have to submit some things and they can speak to the aesthetics of it. But ultimately, this is America. And so you pay and you make the decisions.
Right, right.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just in terms of like with the tide, how much that was just from an engineering standpoint. Try all the cost overruns because of all the old infrastructure that they had to
Right.
work
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
They tore
Yeah,
down a lot of buildings for that too, though.
I think
Yeah.
yeah, I believe so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it depends again on the city because some cities will have like historic districts. Like I live in a historic district, so I'm limited as to what I can do in with my house on the outside. I can do anything on the inside, but on the
Mm.
outside, there's only certain things that I can do. So it's depends where, what area. Same thing in Old Town Portsmouth, which is probably one of the most historically significant areas in the country that nobody knows about.
Yeah, I think High
Really
Street
sad.
down there is like the most underappreciated street in this region.
I
Like
believe
it's
it.
And
really
some of
good.
those houses date to the 1700s, and they're
Oh
the
yeah.
real thing, as opposed to Williamsburg, which recreated it. They're not the original buildings. In Portsmouth, it's the real. And because the British invaded Portsmouth and bombed Norfolk, Portsmouth was preserved. Very sad.
Wow. That's I did not know that history. That's
Was it the
fascinating.
cannonball that's at that church from
Yes,
1776 that has the
that
hole?
was part of it. That was part of it. So a lot of
Ah.
Norfolk was destroyed because they just, they would
Hasn't
bomb
Norfolk been rebuilt
containment.
twice? Right
I
then,
don't know. It's
and
possible.
then it was the Norfolk fires.
Oh yeah, huh?
Hmm.
Yeah.
And so where Waterside is, actually, I even think where like the Town Point, what's that building? What's that street
Oh,
called
the
on
World Trade Center,
the
Main
World Trade
Street.
Center? All those
Yeah.
stuff. I think they built all of that in. And where the Wisconsin was used to be a Budweiser factory in like the 50s. There's some crazy. I think you can find out all this
Huh.
stuff at Slover. I think they have it all in
Yeah.
those like
Silver
Yeah.
has
the
all those
history stuff.
pictures. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
really,
it's
yeah, I enjoy all the old pictures of downtown.
Yeah.
but to see some of the things that we had here, like I remember it was Jeff Mazie of Veer Magazine who was like, "Hey, did you know that when the Wisconsin wasn't here before that, there was a huge Budweiser factory?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "Oh yeah, here's this," and I was like, "That's cool."
Wow.
That's amazing. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Some of
cool.
those, they probably had some beautiful warehouses that were either destroyed by, the British or were torn down when, I mean, that started happening in Portsmouth until somehow somebody put a stop to it. But that's why there's areas of Portsmouth of that old town area that are modern, because they tore down a lot of the old, and they were going to keep going up High Street, and then I don't know, somebody finally said, "Time out! This is not cool. You shouldn't do that."
Hmm.
And so they stopped it, and now they've preserved it, and that's why it's such an amazing little area.
Well, we're such an old area. I mean, to have so much history is just,
Yeah,
it's kind of like duh. Like, of course we're gonna have all this history. Like, this is
yeah.
we're old, but it's cool to look back and think about it, and that is pretty cool.
Hmm.
Tim,
So if you had it your way, what should the city of Norfolk do with the MacArthur Center Mall?
ooh.
I don't do this. Don't do this.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but
In your dream world, what would you
yeah,
want to
yeah,
do?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
let's point it that way.
There's two things that I'd like to. One thing that I'd like to see in this area. Now I don't know. Okay, here's the deal. I don't know if downtown Norfolk or the Greenbrier area would be the ideal, but I would love to see a serious hockey arena. I think
Oh,
that's the sport that this area would totally support and that would
Huh.
kill it if we could get a major
how old is the
team in
scope?
hockey.
They're renovating that. I just heard they're not. I heard they just bailed on the Pharrell Military Circle project. That arena is now
Yeah.
out, and I guess they're renovating the 40, 50-year-old scope, something like
Is
that.
that what it is?
See, the thing with Scope is that Scope is such a, from an architecture, it's a historically important building. Should it be an arena? Probably not, but there's, I don't know, it may be a smaller arena. I think some of
Hmm.
what it's being used for, but it's such a cool building. You know, they tore down
1971.
the equivalent of that in Virginia Beach. Remember, were you here, Zach, when there was the, gosh, I can't remember the name of it, but it was very similar. And I think it was designed by Nervi also. It was like a very world-known, famous Italian architect designed Scope. And he also designed, was it called the Dome or something in Virginia Beach?
Hmm.
And they just tore that one down. Like, we were like, what?
Wow.
They did what? So, I feel very strongly that they really do need to preserve. But, you, we were in Brooklyn visiting family recently. My husband's family still lives in New York. And
Pier Luigi Nervi, something like that.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
the guy who
yeah,
designed them. Okay.
yeah. And so, the Barclay Arena, like that's like kind of wedged in the,
Yeah.
it would be interesting about doing something similar in Norfolk. The problem is that in New York, of course, you have the subway, so you don't need people driving in to park, and they just can, come from all over, and then you just need a small parking for whoever needs it. In Norfolk, you would need to provide much more parking, but there are a lot of parking garages and things that could be. So that would be an interesting thing to happen at MacArthur.
I think it's hard to compare a big city that's super dense, that's used to walking, to then an
Yeah,
area to here where everything has to be Walmart. And it's like, hey, right in front of me, I want to be parking right in front of where I see, because I think that's the way that people psychologically think. It's like, I need to see where I'm going. And that's why the parking is like, I think there's plenty of parking in this region in every single spot or in every single thing. People just don't want to walk 3 or 4
yeah,
blocks, 6 blocks
yeah,
when they're just like, why do I have to do that? When it's like, that's very common in other, very urban places that are very dense. You do that, but here it's the Walmart parking lot effect where it's and get out, go. And so I think that's the getting people's mindset to change on that, to realize like, hey, like maybe because like I remember people used to like complain about stuff at the Slover that we would do, or stuff at even our office on Granby Street. There was like there's no parking. I'm like, there's literally 3 parking garages right here. And they're
right
like,
there.
Well,
Yeah,
oh,
not,
but I meant on the street right in front of you is where I went. And I'm just like,
above Hatch was a
above,
parking garage.
yeah,
oh,
Hatch
yeah.
is a park, yeah. And so
You
I
don't,
just
you
feel
don't
like,
understand. They've already put in their steps in their
That's right.
basement in their treadmill, so they don't want to walk
right,
outside.
right.
They've
I
already
just,
walked
I think
indoors.
that's a hard thing to get over in
Yeah,
this region is
yeah.
people they haven't grasped that. And
But
I
it's
I
changing.
don't
I
know they will.
really think it's changing, Zach. And I
Oh, the
see it,
parking thing though?
the walking thing.
Okay,
I
good.
think you're seeing a lot more pedestrian in downtown Norfolk. I'm surprised, even though it's so small, but even town center in Virginia Beach, the amount of people that are out there walking their dogs around there and using that little park, Central Park. it's
Yeah, that's slowly
it's actually
becoming
I'm
much more
surprised.
dense. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't expect that we would ever see people, but there's a lot of pedestrian, and I think it's changing. I
Good.
really think slowly changing, but I remember, like even 10 years ago, I was like, this is not going to happen, but I think it is starting to change. I think as people live closer and then they want to walk to the grocery store, they want to walk, they realize it's a lot easier. But although I must say that I was just I
Oh,
was at an event with some people from New York City, and this was I think it was in Pennsylvania, and one of them had taken the car and was hitting all like the TJ Maxx and this and that, and we're going, but there's all those stores in New York, and she was like, Yeah, but you don't understand. There's no parking in New York, and this way she can like park, get all the junk, and then put it in the car. So people are people, even in New York. Even the New Yorkers who are used to walking, they still appreciate the ability of having the parking right there. And
Yeah, my brother lives in New York. They haven't had a car in forever.
Hmm.
we
No, they
didn't
don't.
have a car till we moved to Virginia. Yeah,
Yeah, people don't drive there. I don't even know if he has a license anymore. I mean, who knows?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, and you just
Okay,
walk
so
up.
an arena, you said two things, an arena, and what was the other thing that you wanted?
Well, the other thing was I would love to see either there or the a hockey.
Got it.
Yeah, I think that would be awesome and amazing.
I'd love an arena to come here. I have thrown my name in the hat to be
Oh, the PA
the
announcer.
PA
Yeah, yeah.
announcer. Would
Oh, that
love to
would
be
be,
that.
yes, yeah.
Um, let the kid who's been trying to do it for 15 years finally get it. Like let's go. I think it'll be a ton of fun. I went to an Admirals game a few weeks ago, and it was done. I feel like they've made the experience a lot stronger than it had been in the past. So I was pleasantly surprised at that because I've been in the past, and the experience was just the hockey, which is fine. But
Yeah.
how can they make it an all inclusive experience? I thought was a lot stronger. Georgie, you're extremely involved in the community, really trying to help with a ton of organizations and really focused on the growth and positivity. Is that just something that's just near and dear to your heart? How did you get into that? What's the reason behind it? Because I don't think that people immediately are like, oh, I live here, I should be active in it. But you're one that ever since I've known you, and I probably met you through something like that, you just been very active.
So yeah. I pick and choose the different organizations and what I'm getting out of them. Some organizations I do choose because I need to, because of marketing. And a few years ago, I realized that we've been in business now for, this year is going to be 31 years. And about
Wow.
15 years ago, I started going to events and people were like, we've never heard of you. We've never heard the name of your firm. And I was like, this is crazy. So we were like one of the longest established businesses in the area that nobody knew who it was.
Yeah, and you're 16 at that point.
Yeah.
Right? Wow.
Yeah. And so, yeah. And you would think people would know, and we had done some known projects. But so the first focus was to get the name out there, but then I did get involved. For example, my involvement in the chamber, it's very interesting. I'm not a member of the chamber necessarily for marketing. For me, that's to be able to have a voice in the region, in the growth of the region, and getting to know some of like the key people and just having a voice. You know, I'm a Hispanic professional woman in this area, and when I first got here, I was a black swan. There were not a lot of people like me around here. There's a little bit more diversity now, but it's not as diverse. And so I just really felt that it was important that I have a voice and I have a seat at the table. And that's has been my involvement with the chamber, is more of a speaking into the community, trying to get things done through getting involved with the Norfolk division of the chamber and bringing some change. One of the things that we did, which I still look back and I go, this was really cool, was we were able to, I don't know if you remember there was some money coming to start, what's it called? The one of the big gyms in the area. It was like a Y that was gonna happen.
The Brock Center?
The yes, and so that Brock Center, Norfolk almost lost it to Virginia Beach, like to Chesapeake, like it was this close. And it just so happened that I knew
The
somebody.
McDonald's Guy Foundation's gym.
Yeah, and it was with the Salvation Army, and I had a friend who was on the Salvation Army board, and he knew that I was on the Chamber Division board for Norfolk, and he said, "Do you guys realize that you're about to lose this big thing in Norfolk?" And we were able to mobilize things and get, facilitate meetings between city council and the board from the the Salvation Army, and it actually we made it happen, and that was such a cool thing to be able to be part of that and to help Norfolk and to help the population that the Brock Center is serving in Norfolk. I thought that was just really cool. So that was something that when you have an organization like the Chamber that has a lot of, you know, people that are in positions of influence in the business community and you work with them, then you become a voice that can impact the region. So yeah, I just feel like it's important to have a voice and to speak and to this is where we live,
Yeah.
to
I must say, I think I say this every day, and now I'm continuing the streak. But I tell everyone that Hampton Roads is the largest small town that you'll probably ever live in, and it's just amazing to me. So many people ask, "How do I get connected?" It's just like, just get connected. I mean, just jump in, and
show the
you'll be
opportunities.
welcomed.
Hmm.
And it's amazing. Everybody knows everybody,
Yeah, yeah.
and don't burn a bridge because everybody knows everybody.
Right. Yeah, right. That's
Well,
right.
yeah, but then no one could get across the water either, and that would be really a bad
Well, no one
idea.
goes across the water now.
I don't know.
Well,
Once the
I feel like I cross the bridge tunnel multiple times a week, but
How is progress on that thing?
well, I do. I most of the time I take the Monitor Merrimack and then either go through the Midtown or downtown.
Me too. I like the Monitor Merrimack, but the
What's
everything will be done eventually one day.
the
Yeah.
Midtown, the new Midtown when they renovated that? It is awesome.
Oh, it is great. Yeah.
Yeah, don't you feel
Like,
like you're like in a Star Trek thing? Like
Yeah, and I
with
think
like
that
those
it's just
side doors with the lights, and you're going, oh my,
it's
yeah.
the thing that I find so funny about the especially the new Midtown tunnel is it's a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit, but people go
And
65 and
nobody keeps.
70. I mean, it just people just fly through that thing.
Well, plus also you come out on the Portsmouth side, and it's like this big open expanse with like, and then you come out in the Norfolk side, and you're like,
Yeah,
nope, there's Centara.
right.
which that area has just blown up.
It
Yeah.
really has. Yeah.
I didn't go there. I didn't drive like that way for like 2 years during the pandemic. And then I remember one time I went down there for something and I was like, wow, the skyline is completely different. Like,
You mean
it
that
hadn't gone
that
in for
whole
so
Centara?
long.
Yeah, and wait now with yeah, in the whole yard district, what's happening there, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
then what's gonna yeah, no, that's huge transformation.
It's amazing that I guess it's like we're the frog that's being boiled. We don't really notice it, but when you really, but as we look back. Wow, there's been a
And so
lot
we're
of.
not dying, okay? We're not gonna
I've
get
never heard
killed.
that term either. So like,
Oh, really? Boil the
Oh,
frog?
you've never heard about that?
no,
No.
boiling an
Okay.
egg, maybe.
No.
No, come on, Tim. Explain to him the frog.
Please, please.
Yeah. So if you that term, because as the temperature rises, the frog does not notice the difference in temperature,
Why?
and that's just
Eventually,
eventually the frog is then cooked. Yeah, when it's too late. So with us, yeah, we don't necessarily see the change taking place, but as we look back, we're like, wow, the temperature of that water, or in this case, the landscape of
yeah.
the region has changed quite a bit.
No, but
It's
yeah,
hard to
like the
reflect.
EVMS, the new EVMS building, the CHKD, those are like beautiful,
They're
beautiful
really,
buildings.
really,
That's
yeah.
like, yeah, New York level, Chicago level quality architecture.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like from a reflection standpoint, like even from just like individuals, relationships, like
Hmm.
I think most people don't reflect, and it's or they don't know what to look at, and it's like how do you gauge it? And so to see the boiling of the frog effect of that, I think is I've never said that. Check that off your bingo card.
He's created a
it,
monster, Tim. He's now going to use the frog
I'm not.
for
No,
like
it's a one-time
forever.
a one-time
Oh,
use.
oh,
Um, it's like single-use plastics. But yeah, like it's we look at these things, and Tim and I have been doing stuff kind of in the business community
mhm.
for 14, 15 years now, and you look at it and you're like, huh, like look back, like I was meeting with someone recently, and they started their business 10 years ago, and now they're a multi-million-dollar business. And it's like I remember when we were having conversations, and you were just like this side project business, and now look
Well,
at you. You got dozens of
people used to
employees.
have to walk through Georgie's kitchen to get to her office.
Yeah,
Now
Yeah,
look
they
at her.
did. They
And
did
it's
have to do that.
it's just crazy. Like you look at it and it's like, how often can you do and reflect? And it's like, I think it's important for people to do. They should do it more often. Documenting when possible is important. It doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be like Dear Diary, but it could be something like that. It could be something as simple as, just what's like a time lapse of a building being built, looking at it. I remember they had that for the main, and it was going up, and it's like, that's pretty cool. And seeing those things, like figuring that out from a reflection perspective, I think is powerful. More people should do it.
Yeah. And business in this region is interesting. I think there was a time where if you were not from this area and connected to, the good old boys network, it was really hard. And I'll say that there are still some cities which shall remain nameless right now. That is still the case, but it's changing. It's changing. It's changing in Norfolk. I've always felt very welcome in Norfolk, as somebody not from the area. Chesapeake is changing. Suffolk is definite. So I think it is. You're starting to see there's an openness. I think a lot of it has to do also with the magic of the port and the realization of what an asset it is, and the place that it has gotten from. I don't know how miraculously it ended up getting the kind of people that run it that are actually know what they're doing, which is pretty cool. And so people from all over want to be here because it's an efficiently run port, and just appreciating what we have, but then also not keeping it. For a while there was this mentality, I think when we first came here, of yeah, this is what we have is cool, but we're keeping it to ourselves. We don't necessarily want you to come, and we don't want to share. But now I think there's a sense of this could be a really international hub. And I don't know if you guys see it, but I'm seeing
No,
it from the industrial arena.
it's interesting you say that. Just as I talk to a lot of people that are new to this area, they're always amazed at how accessible everybody is and how many different organizations are accessible. So if you're looking for something, you can find that person really, really quickly and like talk to them and have a meeting and whatever the case is. Whereas you go to some of the bigger cities that are out there, and they're just, you wouldn't even know how or who to even get in touch with. But
Right.
this area, everyone is very accessible
Yeah. Yeah.
and willing to help, which is we
And
haven't
How
we
do
haven't
people
lost.
figure?
that sense of being more open. People are just being more willing to be open to the outsider, to newcomers.
You think that's an intentional thing?
I think that it's I think it may be left over from like the Southern hospitality type of mindset.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, as opposed to in like New York, where it's like
Yeah.
very different.
Reserved and protected. Okay, interesting.
Well, just the hustle. No one's got time to take a meeting because they're just hustling from one thing to the next. Whereas,
I mean, even looking back like 15 years when I got started, it's like, yeah, I was able to like just somehow contact people and they let me in the door. And it's like, that's thinking about that. It is interesting because you're just like, huh, thank you to those people who said yes to a meeting. But I think that's what you guys are getting at. It's like, if you say the right thing, you can probably get that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
You think anyone can get a meeting with anyone?
I think it's pretty easy.
It's possible, yeah.
Huh.
I think you can, because I think the degrees of separation in here are not that big.
Right.
And so you can always get to the person that knows the person you want to get to. And if you do it right, if you're polite, if you're honest, if you're truthful, if they know that you're not trying to manipulate or that you're trying to screw somebody up, I think people are willing to help you. That's what I have always found. If you just
So can we get to like
be honest.
the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon? Do you think from just the 3 of us we can figure out Kevin Bacon? Because that would be fun.
Oh,
You know that game, right?
Yeah, but I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know. How would we?
Does he even do anything anymore?
I don't.
I haven't seen that guy in forever. I hope to see him
Yeah,
this
I think
weekend,
they put on
Sunday
a
at like
commercial.
6:30.
a commercial or something but
He'll probably be in a commercial in the Super Bowl.
That's what I'm hoping for. Best day of the year. Favorite day of the year for me. Adele says Norfolk is the urban hub of the region. I mean, I don't think you can disagree with that.
Oh, no, I agree. Absolutely.
Not even just you, just like people. I don't think you could disagree with that. I mean, I've always
I think people are starting to accept that also. They're starting to realize that the urban center of this region is Norfolk. And I think a lot of people in Virginia Beach are realizing we don't want to be the urban center, even though town center is is becoming more urban. It's not very urban, but it's becoming more urban. But I think that's about as far this side as they want to be urbanized.
There you go.
So yeah, it'll be interesting.
People aren't really going up; they're going out. You know, so I mean, you gotta. The only places where you'll really go up is there's only two places really. So.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you guys a question.
Oh boy!
What should we call this region?
That's a popular. Other than, and we'll get to our other most popular question here in a moment, but yeah, that is a big topic of debate, and I just wish that we would stick to something. Everybody wants to be the anomaly and come up with something new, but in this case, I think that we all have to just agree on something. I know we're just, from our standpoint, our organization is Innovate Hampton Roads. We just got to stick to something and continue to brand it. And I mean, just like Tampa Bay is a name. It's a city of Tampa, and then you have Tampa Bay. So for us, we're just continuing to push Hampton Roads, but we got to work together.
I wonder if Hampton Roads added Hampton Roads, VA, if that would help.
Yeah.
You know?
I've always thought it should be Norfolk, Virginia Beach, just like other metros have done things like that. Dallas, Fort Worth, Minneapolis, St. Paul. There's several others as well. I don't think monikers. I think monikers are very difficult to get over. I think that's what Hampton Roads is. I know it's a body of water, but if you look at a map, it says Norfolk, it says Virginia Beach. The MSA is Virginia Beach, Norfolk. I think Newport News, and so just playing off of that. If you're watching, the Today Show every day, Al Roker is showing the city of Norfolk on the map. Take advantage of things like that. Just from a free marketing perspective, that's how I've always looked at it. You got the world's largest Navy base. It's called, Naval Station Norfolk. Things like that, I think, take advantage of instead of trying to create something else. But I'm just a guy, on a show, wearing a black T-shirt, has no idea what he's talking about. But hey, I feel like I think there's legs to that, but whatever.
I don't disagree. Georgie, so the other question that we ask most of our guests is, what is the food of Hampton Roads? So if you have family members or close friends that are visiting the area, what is the must thing or must place that they must visit or partake in before they leave?
Oh, she's struggling. She's like
everybody struggles.
Not food.
Okay.
But because location, the waterfront in Portsmouth, and then the ferry to the waterfront in Norfolk. And to see the two views from each, I think that is so iconic to this area. That experience is one that is very unique.
I wish we need to send something to whoever, I don't know who runs the ferry, but just the ability to use Apple Pay or Google Pay, tap and go. I mean, if that would be just so, right? I mean, who carries exact change?
It's Hampton Roads Transit, but you can use the machines. They have the machines at either end. But you're right. And it's HRT, and they are trying to improve. So that you should talk to the people there.
Yeah, that's just like the New York City subway system. You just tap and go with your iPhone or whatever the case is. They should make it that easy.
I think they're trying to do that for the buses. So if they're trying to do that for the buses, it shouldn't be a big jump to do it for the ferry.
I would get mad about this. It's great.
Well, it's just artificial barriers to get it done. Like me, I really enjoy, to your point, Georgie, I enjoy driving to downtown Norfolk. You go to the Main, have a cocktail,
Mm-hmm.
take the ferry over to Portsmouth to go to the amphitheater, go to a concert, you come back over, I mean, and then have a nightcap. I mean, it's a really really pleasant experience, and the sunset during that time is
Mm-hmm.
fantastic.
Spectacular. Yeah.
And so again, to Zach, to your point, let's leverage the strengths that we already have, and not add artificial barriers because we can't modernize.
There was something that we had done. This is probably 2014 time frame. It was like the Granby to High Street connection is what we had called it, where it was like really try to like those are two really fun streets
Yeah.
that you can
Yeah.
get into a lot of trouble with, if you will. And so it was maybe speeding up the ferry, doing something with that. It's just like
Right. I'm
figuring
surprised
out
they
way
don't do a
to
ferry
that.
to the Tides games because when they
Oh,
have
they
big,
do. No, no,
oh
no.
they do, oh they okay, that's right, I do
It
remember that
actually,
now.
yeah, docks at the stadium.
Yeah,
They do?
that's
It's the one time that it changes its destination because we've done it. It's great. You park in, Portsmouth. You don't have to deal with traffic. Take the ferry and then just take it right back.
that's right.
It's
I
great.
only see it on X whenever they have I expect a high attendance, and they do recommend doing that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
whenever there's a game, they will make a stop at the
So is there
stadium.
crazy lines on that during that time?
They're not crazy lines, but it can get busy. You can get lines when there's, especially if there's events in downtown Norfolk. A lot of people have realized that you can come park in Portsmouth and take the ferry, and it's a lot saner.
I like the ferry.
Yeah, I
yeah.
like the ferry too. Yeah, it's great. I had a friend who actually commuted from Old Town. She taught at TCC. She's no longer in the area, but she would commute by ferry.
Carl
I learned-
Clancy's used to do that. He used to park in of Epic Made, a former guest of the show. He used to worked at Hatch, and would park in Portsmouth. I think he would drive to Portsmouth. I don't know, somehow get to the ferry, take that over, and do that every single day. But he lives in Portsmouth, and so that was always kind of like, oh, that's cool, smart.
I learned about somebody, and I don't remember the name, but I learned of someone yesterday who commutes by jet ski.
Really?
Yeah.
What? Is that true?
You have to find a place to change. Don't you get wet in a jet ski?
I think that I want to say that he might be over at the EVMS campus, so he's able to,
They
I guess,
probably
dock
have
and maybe
showers
walk.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Pretty cool way to commute, though.
Yeah, but I don't
Oh.
know that I want to keep the river water on me for longer than getting into a shower very quickly.
Dr. Milton Brown, is that who it was?
It may have been. I don't know. I'm not sure. But
That's
we
weird.
learned a few weeks ago that Kiara she rides her scooter. So she takes the ferry from Portsmouth to Norfolk and then scooters into Assembly, which is cool.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
What's something
It's happening little by little. I'm telling you, I think it's happening.
I don't like those damn scooters. I'm scared of them. But that's a different story.
We are we're working with the company Warp Speed Scooters, and the scooters that he is putting together and selling, he's got two different models. One goes 45 miles an hour, and the other goes like 61 or 62 miles an hour. I don't know why you need to go that fast in a scooter, but you can.
That's
But
crazy.
they got big tires on them, so it's a little more stability. I passed on my opportunity to take a ride just because, I was a little nervous. I'm not going to lie.
Self-love.
Oh gosh, Georgie, what's something we haven't talked? What's something we haven't talked about that you want to talk about?
I don't know. I think. Oh, okay. I cannot talk to Zach. Sorry, Tim. I'll find something about you.
No,
We were talking about development in downtown Norfolk, and so I was wondering about an interior roller coaster in a big building.
just
What
like
say you,
the
Zach?
New York casino in Vegas.
They don't have to
you
be
do
that
that?
big. There are some pretty small roller coasters now that have some pretty small footprints that can do some pretty incredible things.
So wouldn't you like to do that?
You could do it very easily on the MacArthur spot. You would just have to figure out how to
That'd be
make
really
that work.
man.
If they can put the stupid Ferris wheel that just like goes up and down. They should be able to do something that's a little bit more fun.
Yeah,
The
I'm not
express
famous
train
there.
from point A to point B. That would be a fun e
Be awesome.
thrill ride for the micro transportation.
Put some
The
drops on
problem-
the tide.
The problem would be it's a single, like it's a
Track.
single thing. Like you don't have an entire park there, right? And
Yeah.
so there are a lot of urban
single
parks,
attraction.
right?
Yeah.
Single attraction, yeah.
Yeah, but
So
you
you'd
have
have to
other
figure-
attractions, and then this is like the extra.
Look, I'm all about it. There's we have a great amusement park in the Busch Gardens. I mean, it's not too far away, but if we wanted to put some sort of like, not like some kiddie coaster, right? That's not what I want. I don't
Extreme.
think that's what George wants. And it doesn't have to be Apollo's Chariot, but like,
Yeah.
let's give us something a little wild. That could be fun. I like this idea. It's
Yep,
got
and the
it's got
arenas,
wheels.
The middle
Is
of
there a
with the roller coaster. Yeah.
is there a whole architectural firm or focus just on things like roller coasters?
Oh,
I
yeah.
would imagine so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Intamin, Bollinger, and Montbellard.
Yeah.
There's an entire conference called IAAPA, that's in Vegas every year, where they unveil like all the new types of attractions.
Attractions.
Yeah, and it's pretty well attended. I mean, that's what I originally wanted to go to school to do, was like roller coaster engineering, and then like I took some of the classes and I was like, peace, can't do this, it's too hard. But I was very self-aware of myself at that point, but things happen.
Yeah.
So
And the other thing is, I'm disappointed. The one disappointment that I've had in this interview is to find out that Zach doesn't like science fiction books. That actually makes my heart sad. Do you like science fiction, Tim?
oh, that's a no. That's a no.
The thing
I'm sad.
the thing that's
I like
really
chick
interesting.
flicks.
The thing that's interesting though is how much science fiction comes true. I mean, like I feel like we're living from science fiction 20 years ago or 30 years ago. So that part of it I think is really fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, The Simpsons.
Early Star Trek. I remember when watching as a little girl and the doors would open when they went.
Well, now with all the videos showing up with all the people wearing the Apple Vision Pros, I mean, that just takes it one step further.
Yeah. No, it's yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's just, yeah.
Are you a fan of Bad Bunny?
Not really. But I know.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
who he is.
the one or two biggest artists in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know who he is. Can we leave it at that?
Yeah.
Bad Bunny.
There you go.
Actually, I do have a funny story about Bad Bunny, but
Well, that'll be for another day, I guess. Is what we're getting
for another
at, 'cause I
day.
think you're
We'll
over
do
it.
we'll do a funny story about Bad Bunny and my sister-in-law another time. In Puerto Rico.
Wow.
All right. Well, the cliffhanger.
Yes.
Tim, final thoughts?
The episode did not disappoint. I learned a lot of things, which makes me happy. And Georgie, it was a pleasure talking to you for the last 60 minutes or so. So thank you for all that you're doing for the community. And
It was a lot of fun.
more people need to be bullish on Portsmouth like you are. So I'm looking forward to seeing that change continue, and good things ahead.
That's right. Amen.
Until next time, thank you for watching. Have a great day.